creative consultant. Thank you very much for tuning in to my channel and for watching this video. Today's video is going to be about how to overcome violent communication. We're all experiencing a lot of this, especially if you're on social media. Our jobs here are to interact with one another, here as in like Earth. That's our job. So as we move through cycles of existence, we are ever expanding in our consciousness. That's the whole point. This is conscious evolution. We do this through things like conscious community and especially conscious communication. So as we read, like, or dislike, or comment, we are just becoming increasingly aware of the reality of violent communication. I use this term violent communication kind of like in response to and inspired by this book that I adore, which I recommend for everybody, Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. This book is extremely useful, especially right now. The premise of violent communication, as I'm defining it, is that words and how we use them have the power to lead to hurt and pain. So as I was writing this up, it could be said that terms like fuck cancer or fuck the patriarchy can sort of be aggressive or even violent terms or phrases. The anger that inspires these statements is less about like putting someone down, putting an ideology down, or insulting it, and more about taking the power away from something that harms or kills. And though this can be an aggressive type of communication, anger can be positive if reparative action can come from it. So how do we overcome violent communication? How do we deal with like the trolls that we're seeing on social media and like our ego just like wanting to get into it, especially when our rage feels like so uncontrollable? We do this by activating and becoming familiar with the connection to ourselves. This has been described as the subtle bridge, or the bridge between the physical self and the soul, our human self and our higher self, which sees from a larger perspective. What does this mean? This means that we create space for our souls to breathe. We create space for our inner child to feel loved and cherished, to feel seen and heard and understood. How do we create space? We give permission to ourselves to take a minute and observe emotions that come up. You gotta feel it to heal it. I know that's cheesy, but you gotta feel it to heal it. You've got to understand it to connect to it. We can hold our space in the face of, trolls and their judgment and things like that, observing ourselves without judgment at the feelings that come up. And we have to respect that all of our feelings are valid. We have to validate them ourselves. So space, taking and creating space, that can look like silence, which is of course another option. Now, in this silence, if you are open and able to, try to appreciate one thing. Try to appreciate the presence of these people, not their motivation or emotional state or possible inability to consciously and responsibly reflect. Try to recognize the communication for what it is, which is a manifestation of their environment, their upbringing, their beliefs, or things that they have been through that they're just not able to process or heal. Find a way, and this is so hard, but find a way to be grateful for the reflection of our own darkness. Going into your higher perspective when you can, and remembering that the presence is a gift. Now, this is not about being bigger or being smarter or going high or any of that bullshit. So let go of all that bullshit, because this is just reinforcing a hierarchy that we really need to move away from. This is about your own internal care and subsequent actions. It's about meeting all of the parts of yourself. Their presence is impermanent, just like everything else in life. You don't have to do anything but try to get into a space of being centered, dropping down into your heart. The purpose here is to say no to the immediate emotions that arise from the trigger. Say no to that. Instead, move into a space of appreciating the trigger. We can't change people. It's not about the points, it's not about the arguments. It is about the emotional volatility of the people who are communicating. This is unfortunately representative of our state of connection. We can only show them how we change, how we consciously evolve. Sometimes this disconnection, we feel so disconnected from people who hold such opposite views from us, and we're just like, everyone is like, I just can't believe it, right? And one of the things that I found that's super helpful in terms of finding that connection again with yourself is to try asking, what brings me back to myself? Is it a smell? Is it a thing? Is it a thought? Is it an action? It's going to be completely different for every single person. I'm sure you're aware of this, but your emotional state is vulnerable right now, and so is everyone else's. Shift into making space that feels supportive. Imagine that supporting each other is the goal instead of like candidates or their policies. The majority of these motherfuckers just don't give a fuck. I mean, they don't. So I'm gonna leave you with this. Who in your life needs the most support right now? It might even be yourself. Direct your conscious and nonviolent communication there. Have a great week. I know this is like anxiety times a gazillion. Make that space.